Hello and welcome to Positively United. Today, Saturday, the 31st of January 2026. In this video, I'm going to do my predicted 11, the starting 11 for the game against Fulham tomorrow. Game I'm really looking forward to, I have to say. I'm looking forward to this game as much as I was looking forward to last week's game against Arsenal. For different reasons, of course. I looked forward to the game against Arsenal almost like with a bit of fear and trepidation. Because it felt like the most difficult game that we could be possibly playing at that time. And of course we won, and we won gloriously. And actually, I was surprised at the end of it just how ordinary Arsenal were. Having said that, I'm recording this video just after Arsenal have been to Leeds today and have absolutely smashed them 4-0. Does that show how well United's performance was last week, by any chance? Do you think people might be saying that, or would they give them no credit? Who knows? But yeah, great performance last week, but it'll need to be a different performance tomorrow because, look, Fulham aren't Arsenal. It's much more likely to be a tighter game. United are going to have to make the running. United are going to have to create space. We're not going to be able to play a counter-attacking style of football, although I think last week's performance against Arsenal was a lot less counter-attacking than some people are making it out to be. But nevertheless, we know what the score is. We're going to have to create chances against Fulham in a different way than we created them against Arsenal. It's going to be a different kind of game. Fulham will present different kinds of problems. And I suppose really with Carrick, because he was coach under Ollie, there's always going to be that issue raised about how if you were to criticise Ollie's teams, one of the criticisms would be that they often found it really difficult to break down teams with a low block or a mid block. And so it'll be really interesting to see if Carrick can get over that problem. It'd be a major step for him in establishing his credentials to be the full-time head coach, and will be absolutely essential if United are going to find themselves in the top 5 this season. The Fulhams of this world at home simply have to be beaten in the way that Amorim couldn't beat Wolves at home or Everton at home. Carrick's got to make a real step up from that. So anyway, to the team in just a bit, because I couldn't help, I'm not going to make any comments about the transfer speculation because honestly it's completely dead, and this might explain why we had this story today. But if Carrick does get the job full time, he apparently is going to bring Marcus Rashford back to Old Trafford. What do we make of this story? Well, I'll be absolutely clear about what I think of it. I think it's rubbish, and I think it's a direct result of there being virtually, or I don't know even why I say virtually, there is no activity of any credibility about United making a last-minute purchase or loan deal in this January transfer window. You know, United have been telling us for quite some time, don't expect anything in January, and I think perhaps we should take them at their word that there isn't going to be anything in January. And that leaves an enormous gap for journalists who get most of their clicks and likes from the big clubs, and there's no bigger than Manchester United. So the fact that United seem to be almost doing nothing in the transfer window must be a bit of a problem for the journalists out there who need eyeballs on their articles. So that might explain why in the Telegraph today, Jason Burr has written this story, suggesting that if Carrick is kept on beyond the end of the season, he'd like Rashford back. There is no direct quote attributable to Carrick on this. Carrick hasn't said in a press conference, I'd like to see Marcus Rashford back at United. There are no unattributable quotes. There are no quotes of sources close to Carrick, as far as I can tell. This, to all intents and purposes, could be a story entirely driven by speculation. And I think that's exactly what it is. There's been a bit of talk recently about how Barcelona are really happy with Carrick and they want to buy him. But there's also been talk about Barcelona wanting to push down the price. And I've got a feeling that what we're seeing here is a side effect of that conversation, of Barcelona wanting Rashford, but not really wanting to pay even the really low price that was discussed during the loan deal. I don't know about you, but I've always felt it possible that the end of Marcus Rashford's time at Barcelona could very well be Barcelona just not paying up, just not buying him. We know how capricious Barcelona are in the transfer market. We also know how tight, how close they sail to the wind when it comes to financial regulations, sometimes maybe even sailing over them. What's the betting at some time this summer they decide they haven't got the money for Rashford? Lay down some utterly derisory figure for him that United, in a sense, have to reject because it's so derisory. In which case, where does Rashford go? Well, of course, strictly speaking, he will come back to United. Whether he stays at United and is there when the first ball of the new season is kicked off is a different matter. There'd be plenty of interest from other clubs across Europe in Marcus Rashford. I think he would be devastated. He looks like, and has looked like for some time, that Barcelona's the team he really wants to play for. But it would be interesting to know if Michael Carrick could persuade him that his future was back at United. And is Michael Carrick the coach to actually transform Rashford's fortunes at United? I think this is all idle speculation. I can't see Rashford coming back to United. I think those days are over. I think it would be a really backward step unless some phenomenal change has occurred in Rashford's mentality, or that could be instilled in him by Carrick. I just don't see it working. And I think this is a story that is a typical end of transfer window story when, frankly, nothing real is happening. So I don't expect to see Marcus Rashford at Manchester United next season, and I guess the vast majority of you don't expect to see him at United either. Let's move to the predicted team for tomorrow. So this is the team that started last week's game against Arsenal, and of course was the team that started the previous week's game against Manchester City. Lemons in goal, back four of Shaw, Martinez, Maguire and Dalot, two defensive midfielders of Mainu and Casemiro, three attacking midfielders of Dorgu, Fernandes and Diallo, and Mbuemo as the nominal centre forward up front, or the attacking player up front. And he's named that team now 2 games on the trot, and you can understand why. It worked against City. It's going to be a similar game against Arsenal, so he picked it again, and it worked beautifully again, but I doubt he's going to pick that team tomorrow. I think Carrick is going to ring in the changes. These are the changes that... Are they the ones I expect him to do, or are they my changes? I think in this particular case, they're the same thing. I think the team I would have put out tomorrow, I think, is the team that Carrick will put out. So the first change is I think Dalot will be dropped in favour of Mazraoui. Surely Mazraoui now must be fully fit. He's been back a week. Hopefully he's been able to rest after his exertions in AFCON. So, yeah, I expect to see Mazraoui as right back. And I would really like to see Mazraoui as right back. And actually, I think that's our perfect back four at the moment, with Dalot not being fit. And without any disrespect to players like Heaven, the combination that Maguire and Martinez have been able to develop over the last couple of games, I think it's been a revelation. They really seem to suit each other. And I think it would be a risk to break that apart. So let's assume that Maguire and Martinez are retained and that Shaw is retained. Of course, it's very likely that Shaw is retained now that Dorgu is injured. Mazraoui is the perfect player to come in and replace Dalot, because we know that Carrick, his preferred option at the back, is to push one of the fullbacks very far advanced, the other-sided fullback to stay back, to get tight with the two central defenders and essentially form a three at the back. Now, Shaw's really great at doing that on the left because, of course, we all know he can play centre-back. Dalot is nowhere near as good a centre-back as he is a right-back, and he's not, in my opinion, even the best right-back in our squad. But Mazraoui is a pretty good centre-back. So, and I also think he's our best right-back when all of our players are fit. So, that back four works perfectly for the Carrick formation. If Mazraoui goes forward, Shaw will tuck in, create a back three with Martinez and Maguire. If Shaw moves forward, Mazraoui would tuck in and form a back three with Martinez and Maguire. It works really, really well. I don't see Carrick, and I certainly wouldn't touch Mainu and Casemiro, and I guess that's part of the problem. Would you rotate either of those two out for Ugarte at the moment? Don't think you would. I certainly wouldn't. And if there was one thing I would have hoped we'd have done this January window was to get at least a stopgap, strength in depth central midfielder. I still have fingers crossed that might happen in the 11th hour, but let's see. So anyway, Maino and Casemiro stay. Very sadly, no Dorgu. What a shame. But I think it's really quite easy, the decision here. You just bring Cunha into that position. So Cunha comes in for Dorgu. Obviously, Fernandes retains his place. I see Mbeumo playing on the right. And the unlucky man, I think, here is going to be Diallo. Because I don't think Diallo is going to start. I wouldn't start him. Because I want to start with Šeško. And I want to start with Šeško because I think we're going to have to break down Fulham, who, when they don't have the ball, almost, I think, go into a 4-4-2 formation. They're going to be quite deep. Two banks of four. It's going to be really difficult to break through them. And instead of always passing our way through, which is what we would do if Mbeumo was up front, with Šeško, we've got the ball, should we want to play it, over the top or down the channels for him to run onto. It's an outlet ball that we would have. And so I would play with Šeško. I'm certainly not going to drop on Mbeumo because I think he's our player of the moment. I really do. I know Dorgu won United's Player of the Month for obvious reasons, but I think our player of the season so far has been, well, could say it's been Fernandes, but I think Mbeumo's been absolutely superb. He's been our best purchase this summer, and I'm certainly not going to drop him. So unfortunately, Diallo gets dropped. He will definitely come on, however. And I do think that the future of those players between now and the end of the season is, I see Fernandes being picked for every game to start every game. But I think Mbeumo, Cunha, Šeško and Ahmad will do an awful lot of rotation. And that's a really good thing. In fact, almost like the more they rotate, the happier they'll all be because they'll feel that they're part of a rotation process. They're not being dropped. They're just being rotated. And I think it will keep them all happy. The one at the moment, it's so difficult to drop as Mbeumo. But Cunha and Ahmad, I think, will alternate. But I think Mbeumo might do too. And Šeško. But anyway, that would be my starting lineup. Le Mans, Shaw, Martinez, Maguire, Mazraoui, Mainu, Casemiro, Cunha, Fernandes, Mbeumo, Šeško in a 4-2-3-1 formation. It's going to be a fascinating game tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Do I think we'll win? Yes, I think we'll win 2-0. And I'd love to see us getting a quick early goal. But do you know what? I've got a feeling it's going to be 0-0 after about 50 minutes, 55 minutes, 60 minutes. And then something might have to change. And that might bring the goals. But I don't expect an easy game tomorrow. None of us should do. I'm looking at the table now, and as I speak, look, Fulham are 7th. They're only 4 points behind us, and they're there for a good reason. They're playing well. They're playing well. They're a really good outfit. And so it's going to be a difficult game tomorrow, but it's one that Michael Carrick, in my opinion, really does need to win if he's to establish his credentials as the permanent head coach at Manchester United. Okay. That's all. That's it for today. I think I'll be doing one more video between now and the start of the game. I would like to address the protests that are going to happen, or the protest that's going to happen at Old Trafford tomorrow. I'll probably do a video for that either late tonight or tomorrow morning, because I think a few things do need to be said about it. So I'll do that before the game, and then after the game, I'll do some sort of post-match analysis. Yeah, if you like this video, hit like. If you like what I do on this channel, please subscribe. It really, really helps other people to find the channel. If you've got a friend who you think would appreciate the kind of things I do here, let them know about the channel and try and convince them to subscribe too. Follow me on X. I try to post on X every day. Even if it's only to let you know that a video has been posted on YouTube, I will be posting on X, so it's well worth doing. If you want to support the channel in any way, please do so. I've got a Ko-fi account. The link to that is in the description, and any amount, however small, would be gratefully received. But that's it. Until tomorrow, when I'll see you again, remain positively united.